learning Be'ez Hashem this Elzman in the Kollel Hilchas Tekias Shofar. In tonight's Shiur Akdama, I would like to focus, before going into the Hilchas, the Halachas of Tekias Shofar, to go into the Mekoyer, the Tam, and the Segulah Mitzvah. The Mekoyer for Shofar is twice in the Torah, in Parshas Emor and Parshas Pinchas. In Parshas Emor, the Torah says Zichrein Teruah. In Parshas Emor, in Parshas Pinchas, the Torah says Yom Teruah. That's where the Torah speaks about Shofar. The Mekoyer for the Mitzvah Asay D'Oraisa of Shofar is actually in Parshas Pinchas. Interesting, even though Emor is where the Torah says the Mayadim and the Mitzvahs, Pinchas is where the Torah speaks about the Karbonos HaChag. Lamaisa, the Mitzvah, the Mekoyer HaTorah, the Mekoyer that we know, the Mitzvah Shofar, it's from Parshas Pinchas. The Chinuch is over there. For those that say the L'Shem Yichud before Tekias Shofar, side the Baal Tekias, side the people that listen, changes a little bit the Lashon. Hareini muchan mazum l'kayim mitzvahs asay shetzivani abayir yizbarach shemay the l'tkoya or l'shmoya kabay shekasav b'Torah yoim teruah yeh lachem. From Parshas Pinchas, the Chinuch is in Parshas Pinchas. Even though really the mitzvahs are in Emor, true, the asmachta zichron teruah is for Rosh Hashanah shechali is b'Shabbos, but midoraisa you blow shofar even on Shabbos. The Torah says in Parshas Pinchas Yom Teruah. The Rishonim ask a kasha, mehechet heisa. It's a new mitzvah on Rosh Hashanah to blow shofar. Maybe it's included, to say the Torah is referring to the mitzvahs asay in Parshas Bahaloischa. The Torah says these are mitzvahs asay of chatzotzres, to blow chatzotzres, two different times. One is Bais Sarah, B'Shas Melchama, and another time the pasuk says weiter B'Yom Simchaschem U'Moyadechem. These are mitzvah midoraisa to blow chatzotzres on Yom Tov. So fragen the Rishonim, the Ramban, the Even Ezra, maybe when the Torah says on Rosh Hashanah Yom Teruah, maybe the Torah means referring to the mitzvah of chatzotzres. How do we know that these are meyuchadig din of Tekias Shofar? We're going to be learning the whole zman a din of Tekias Shofar. Maybe it's a din of chatzotzres.
Say that more aspect we're learning from Mitzvah, maybe it's chatzotzres and not Shofar. The Gemara says Kasim Chagina, it's Megadat Shofar, not chatzotzres.
So, good. We're going to get to the Gemara in a minute. Very good. To say the Gemara starts, the Gemara says Menayim b'Shofar.
Yeah, and the Gemara said, yeah.
Let's get back to the Gemara in 1 minute, because here I think it's a step before. Could be I'm not answering the question. We'll get back to it. Fragging the Rishonim, maybe when the Torah says Yom Teruah, the Torah is referring to the Din HaTorah of Chatzotzres. Zok the Even Ezra, for two reasons it can't be referring to Chatzotzres. Number one, if it is referring to Chatzotzres, okay, but then why only by Rosh Hashanah does it say Yom Teruah? By all Karbonos HaChag in Parshas Pinchas, it should say Yom Teruah. Be'etzim could be, it does mean it's referring to Chatzotzres, but why only by Rosh Hashanah does it say Yom Teruah? Though this could be, it could be matcha a little bit, that there would be a half a minute that Rosh Hashanah is not included. Rosh Hashanah, we don't say in davening moyadim l'simcha like we say by the Shalosh Regalim. So it could be when the Torah says b'yom simchaschem and moyadechem, could be it's referring to Shalosh Regalim and not Rosh Hashanah. But Lamaisa, Rosh Hashanah is also, it's also, what's the Lashon HaPasuk? Also, v'rosh chachechem. It state.
So I knew Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah.
Aha. I hear. Good. That's also, I was going to say that Lamaisa, Pashtas it is. It's just not a Yom Simcha. It's a shmuz for itself. Good. The Rosh Hashanah, you're saying it shouldn't be Gora. It's Rosh Chodesh. Lamaisa, it's not. It's Nivla Lamaisa. Yeah, but we bring the Karb Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, richtig. Good point. So the first reason why it's not Nichlal, why you can't say it's Meyuched, because it should have said all karbanos. V'oid zok the Even Ezra that the chatzotzres came with the carbon. If you take a look in the pasuk, when the Torah speaks about b'shvi be'echad ha'chodesh, zok the Torah it's yom teruah, and then afterwards zok the Torah about the carbon. Chatzotzres was a din together with the karbanos. And the Ramban also says, and he doesn't. What the Ramban says, chatzotzres is. That's what the Ramban says. The Ramban says that in the Torah it says it before the carbon, and chatzotzres is with the carbon, and the Even Ezra says another nakuda that chatzotzres was a tekias, and the Torah says yom teruah. So it's a teruah. If it's chatzotzres, it would have been tekias. Al kapanim zog the Rishonim, it's a din, it's cholek legamri, and chatzotzres is din in the Bais Hamikdash, ma'ashe'in kein, the shofar is a din for ganz Klal Yisrael. Interesting to note, even though the Even Ezra says, and the Ramban, they say that it's not shaykh to be chatzotzres, the Even Ezra in his Sefer Yisoidu Moira says, I'm going to read just one part of the Lashon, and Shara Shishi says, that these mitzvahs in the Torah, that it's klar. When the Torah says to do the mitzvah, it's crystal clear what you're supposed to do. Then there are mitzvahs that it's not shaykh to be makayim without the pirush of Chazal. If you don't listen to Chazal, you miss the boat. Zok the Even Ezra. Yesh mitzvahs muvu'oros b'Torah mefurish. V'yesh mitzvahs shelo yadanu pirusham be'emes rak mepi hakdoshim hamatikim shekiblu ma'avev metavidim Rabbi. A person can understand it completely different. And in the list, he lists when the Torah says over here, Yom Teruah, it's not clear exactly. The Pirush on the bottom explains it, that it means that you would think that it's Nichlal in the midst of Chatzotzres. So, even though the Ramban and the Even Ezra say when you learn Pirush HaTorah, when the Torah says Yom Teruah, it's klar that it's not Chatzotzres. In the Sefer, he seems to say, in Yesod HaMoreh, it seems that you would maybe think Lulei HaKabbalah. Could be a little different, we'll get to it in a minute. But Al Kaponim, that's klar when the Torah says Yom Teruah, it's not the din of Chatzotzres. Lamaisa, could be it's a separate din, but how do we know b'shofar? So for that we have the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara says, Umenayin, that it's b'shofar. To say, even though you tell me that Yom Teruah is not Nichlal the din HaTorah of Chatzotzres, but could be it's weiter b'Chatzotzres, its own din of Rosh Hashanah, b'Teruah, it's for ganz Klal Yisrael, all the chilukim, b'seder, but it's still b'Chatzotzres. Auf dem sagt the Gemara, etaku menayin sheb'shofar. So the Gemara says, originally the Gemara says that it's Al Kapanim by Yovel, it's klar, it's a shofar. The Torah says mefurish, Ravata shofar, true, it's a shofar. The Gemara says that it's b'chaydish hashvid, and the Gemara says the drasha, true, drasha, that just like by Yovel, it's b'shofar, so too b'Rosh Hashanah. Al Kapanim, but often that when the Torah says Yom Teruah, it's not mefurish in the Torah that it's b'shofar. It could be that's what he's saying in the Even Ezra, that he's saying that you would mix up, you wouldn't know. It's not klar in his lashon. V'kocha Tekias shofar b'yom ki lulei hakabbalah hayenira ki al derech Rosh Chodesh Nisan. On the bottom they explain al derech Rosh Chodesh, meaning to say is that he's done b'chatzotzres. But it could be, it would mean that if Lulei HaKabbalah, then you would say that Rosh Hashanah is a din to blow, but Chatzotzres is not for shofar. But Al-Kabbalah, one thing is clear, it's not mefurish in the Torah. The Gans Helchas Tekias shofar, the Torah says Yom Teruah, it's not mefurish shofar, Avada, it's a drasha. On the note that the Torah says that it's Yom Teruah, and Chazal darshan that it's b'shofar. It's interesting, on the bracha of the mitzvah, what's the bracha of the mitzvah? L'shmoya koil shofar. Avada, because the mitzvah is b'shofar. In Shmoy Nesrei, by the end of the bracha of shofros, what's the lashon? Shemea koil truas amoi. So frektach sam sofer, why the change? Either both shofar, because Lamaisa the mitzvah is b'shofar, or both truas amai, because Lamaisa the Torah calls it true. Avada, the true is b'shofar. Is it true or is it shofar?
It's machis the chaynes shofar. It's not machis the chaynes truas.
So yes, my answer.
And again, even starker, it should be called shofars. It should be.
No, but that
It should zicher say shofar. You're saying even in the brach also
it's like two separate things. This all these psukim, the brach is on
shofars, on shofar.
on shofars.
So
and the brach at the end of when we say on the 10 psukim is on shofar. And
Yeah, but we say over there Shemei Kollel Truas Amai. It should we should bring Shemei Kollel Shofar Amai. You're being mechazik the kasha. The Chaim Sofer says it should be either, both should be the same. You're saying
there's called two things. There's the truas and thing and shofar, right? And we make when we say a musaf is about shofar, and the mitzvah of the yoyim is on the trua. So there's two separate things. The male is passes two separate brachas.
Yeah, but the bracha.
Nachum.
So when you're being mekayim the mitzvah, Tekias to be yoshev. So over there you say a bracha of shofar because you're doing the mitzvah of shofar. By Shmoy Nesra we're holding in the bracha of shofaris. So why not say shofaris also?
No, I'm not being kind of mitzvah of listening to Tekias. I'm the kind the psukim of saying about shofar.
So maybe we're calling it trua.
I don't know what to call it. It's not my business what the Chazal said that the Lashon should be.
The Chaim Sofer also doesn't mind how you call it. He just wants to know why the change.
I'm saying forget that's why there's a change. One is on
the mitzvah and one is
on the psukim of shofar, and one is on and the mitzvah is lishma kol shofar, the koil, the teruah.
Yeah, so the shaila is why teruah is also by the so the psukim are shofar.
The psukim are about shofar, and the mitzvah is the yom teruah.
But by the mitzvah, we don't say true or fakir. By the mitzvah, we're saying shofar.
No, we call shofar, whatever. It's not the mitzvah is to hear the tekias, to hear the truths. Yeah, there's no mitzvah of shofar.
The mitzvah is shofar. The mitzvah when the Torah says yom teruah, the mitzvah is to l'shmaya the koil. Let's go weiter. We'll be mamshach afterwards. Zok the Chaim Sofer. Now I want to hear the Chaim Sofer says that avada. The mitzvah of Yom Teruah is b'shofar. But Lamaisa, like we just said, it's not mafurish in the Torah b'shofar. When we make the bracha, Asher Kedishanu being Makayim the mitzvah, so over there, we're meramas in the bracha that you cannot be Makayim the mitzvah HaTorah without the Kabbalah of Chazal. So when the Baal Tekias makes the bracha, Koil Shofar, the word is to say, Dafka Shofar, because if you don't listen to what the Gemara Chazal tell us that it's shofar, you're not going to makayim the mitzvah. Masha Inkin in Shmoy Nesrei Malchus Sechonis Shofis is the Rabbanon. In the Rabbanon was saying fakert. That you think the Chacham Stam came and said whatever they decided. Those are words of the Chaim Sofer. No, everything's miyusad on the Torah. So that's why in the bracha, well, Avad it's shofaris, but we use the lashon teruah to be meramis that when the Chazal, everything that all the psukim, everything they brought is all miyusad ala Torah. That's why even though it's shofaris, l'chayra it should have said shofar, but l'maisa the Torah calls it teruah. So what do we have so far? So far we have what a Clarkite, the mitzvah is not the chatzoitzeris of Parshas Ba'aloischa. Not only it's not that mitzvah, it's its own mitzvah, it's not b'chatzoitzeris, it's b'shofar. Stellt sich the shaila. In Musaf, at the end of shofaris, not the bracha that we just spoke about, it right before, Ka'amur, the last pasuk in Shofar, so v'yoyim simchaschem u'v'moyadechem u'v'rosh echatshechem u'skatem b'chatzoitzres. Fragen the Rishonim, how does this pasuk come into Shofars? The other psukim are not psukim of Rosh Hashanah, but it's Shofar of Har Sinai, it's Shofars. But this is not shofar, this is chatzaitzris. The Rosh brings that the Rashba and the Ramban are meramin on this pasuk. How does this pasuk come in? We just spoke clearly the past few minutes that when it's not a mitzvah of chatzaitzris, not only it's not that mitzvah, it's not even b'chatzaitzris b'chalal. So how does this pasuk come in? The Rosh brings the Raviyah, that the Raviyah says enachanami taka. It's not the pasuk. Be'etzem we have 10 psukim without this pasuk. By Malchus and Zechronis, you need to have 10 psukim. Here we already have by Shofar's 10 psukim. It's the 11th pasuk beseder. But why to bring it in? So he says lamaisa it's divri ritzui v'rachamim. So we bring the pasuk in. Call it a little bit to be matcha. How you could even bring the pasuk in Be'etzem, it's not connected. In Orches Chaim from the Rishonim, I think a Talmud of the Rosh of Aaron Meloniel, he says, not the Orches Chaim of the Rosh, Zok the Orches Chaim, he says like this, he brings also the Rashba and the Ramban, he says, the Ramban says that it's a toyis, and he says the Rashba didn't say it. The Rashba didn't say it, B'chlal, this pasuk. But he says, he says, you take a look, this is in his time, he says, you take a look in the Machzorim, the pasuk is there. When you can say it's a toyis, the pasuk is there. So he says, the reason why the pasuk comes in is because Lamaisa, the Sefri says, Rashi on that pasuk brings the Sefri that this pasuk is Meramis, Malchus, Achronis, and Shofars. Malchus, Achronis, and Shofars, that's why we bring this pasuk. But often, it's important to note, we davening Rosh Hashanah, we bring this pasuk, it's clear that this is nothing to do with the mitzvah, not chatzaitzris, it's a shofar. You have to be miyashiv, why taka we bring this pasuk in Shemoneh Esrei. So we spoke so far, the Makoyer HaMitzvah, Avada, it's the Makoyer in the Torah, Lamaisa, it's also with Chazal telling us that it's b'shofar. What's the reason for the mitzvah? So the emes is that I think everybody has in the machzer 10 reasons for shofar. I want to focus on one reason, and this reason is really a reason not just taimei mitzvah, but it's a reason to understand what the shofar is supposed to do to us. Zok the Chinuch says since Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Hadin, and Be'etzem, a person doesn't get involved. Even if it's a Yom Adin, Bedoimi says, B'shas Mulchama, the minig was, he used to blow b'chatzaitzers, b'shofars, to get the people involved. Could you imagine? Pshat is a Mulchama going on, and the Yom's not involved. You have to be mo'oyer yidei shofar. The same thing over here also. Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Adin. To be mo'oyer Klal Yisrael, to do tshuva, to be mevakesh rachmim, that's why you blow the shofar. Taimei mitzvah, v'oid. But it's important to know that taimei mitzvah, avad if a person's not mechavan this and he doesn't do it, and it's not ma'oirim, he's still mekayim the mitzvah. But the taimei mitzvah over here is a person has to understand when he listens to the shofar, it's supposed to be ma'oir. Sai for the chatoim that was, zok the chinuch v'oid, to knock out the Yetzer Hara, to say Smakana Laba, as I sagt the Chinuch. Just going to take out a line or two. Al Kain Tzarich Kol Echad Lahoyer Tivoi, to wake himself up, Levakish Rachim Al Chatoiv Madoin Rachim, to ask Rachmanis from the Eibishter on the Chatoim that he did. The Eibish is Achanun V'Rachim. The koila shofar ma'oirer harbe leiv kol shaim. If it's ma'oirer a person, the kolshkin a trua, it's yoim trua, it's a trua even more. Trua is a broken koila. It makes a person to be broken in the sense that he should do tshuva. V'oid, that a person should mekanal abor, not be meshabbat to the Yetzer Hara. But zok the chinuch, a person can be in a s'orer in two different ways. A person can be in a s'orer when he sees something. I heard from people that went in the summer, they saw different afloyas, aboire, they these are soiris, things that you see. Really, you're nesoirer. These are Rabbi Shalom. You're nesoirer from what you see. And then these are a soiris of what you hear. You hear a good drasha, a soiris of what you hear. Zok the chinuch, the shofar is supposed to accomplish both. Avada, what you hear, that avada, to hear the kol shofar. But zok the chinuch also, you see the shofar. What's to see the shofar? The shofar is supposed to be kofuf, is supposed to be bent, to be ma'oira, to tell a person to be koifuf his yetzer, to be koifuf, to bend himself. That's, you should see it. At kedekach, the Chaim brings that if a person can either get a shofar from an ayil or a shofar from a different behema, a kosher a shofar, but it's kafuf, you should go with kafuf. Because kafuf is from Chazal, to be ma'oira, a person should be bent. Ayil is a minik of Klal Yisrael, zecha lakeda. But al kapanim zak the chinuch, again, the time of mitzvah is to ma'oira a person. Say what you hear the shofar, and say seeing the shofar. This chinuch is a little bit more well known. The Rambam, just I guess you could say the famous Rambam. The chinuch a lot of times quotes from the Rambam. He doesn't quote the Lashon, but it's the same idea. The Rambam says, "Afal pishet Tekias shofar b'Rosh Hashanah gzeres hakosef." And lamaisa, it's gzeres hakosef. Pshat is you have to mecham mitzvah shlichus kavana, you makayim, you want to be makayim the rotzera, the tzivui aboirei. But however, Zok the Rambam, remez yeshboi chaloimer uru yeshem shenaschem, a person should wake up and do the chazru b'tshuva. The Rambam, that's the reason for shofar. We're saying that the mitzvah of shofar is to ma'orer for tshuva. Why? Because Rosh Hashanah is Yom Adin. Is it brought anywhere in the Torah that Rosh Hashanah is Yom Adin? It's not mafurish. The Kliyakar asks, why is it that it's not mafurish in the Torah? Where's this Kliyakar? The Kliyakar is actually by Shavuos. Kliyakar asks why Shavuos, it's not mafurish in the Torah that it's a Yom of Matan Torah. Could you imagine the whole world was created for Matan Torah? And it's not even mentioned in the Torah that Shavuos was a day of Matan Torah. Zok the Kliyakar, the Shavuos is not lagabe Shavuos for us tonight, but he says that the reason why the Torah doesn't say when Matan Torah is because B'chol Yom Yev V'nech Chadashas, there's not a day punkt on Shavuos, you have to start learning. Every day is Matan Torah. Zok the Kliyakar, that's the reason why the Torah is not Megala when is Rosh Hashanah, when is the Yom Adin, when a person should be Nes'or B'tshuva. Why? Because if not, a person's gonna, the whole year is gonna be on vacation. And he could be chayte, and when Rosh Hashanah will come, we'll get involved. The Mele, the Torah doesn't say when the Yom Adin is, because a person b'chol Yom should be b'tshuva. But al kapanim, if a person is not on that level to every day be b'tshuva, al kapanim, when it comes Rosh Hashanah, the Torah says blow the shofar b'truah to ma'orer a person l'tshuva. On this note of the chinuch, the Ramban says the same thing. The Ramban asks 3 questions. Why is the mitzvah on Rosh Hashanah betrua? Why not at Tekias? Why is it dafka Rosh Hashanah? It's Rosh Hashanah. And why is Rosh Hashanah mikra kodesh? What's the Yom Tif? Zok the Ramban, the teretz is Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Adin. And in Mela we blow the shofar betrua to ma'orer a person l'tshuva, like what we said from the chinuch, the Rambam. And in Mela it's mikra kodesh because it's such an important day. It's a Yom Adin. And people should spend the day to do tshuva on the mail, that's why it's Mikra Kodesh. I want to be moisef. We said up until now, the taimei ha-mitzvah is to ma'orer a person l'tshuva. The Torah also refers in the lashon of truas melech boy in Parshas Balak, and Rashi teaches trua meloshin reis. Das heißt that al yidei trua, al yidei shofar, that's ma'orer a person to tshuva, that enables, that helps us, for us to be reis, reyoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Where do you find that the Eibishter is reyoi? The Gemara in Shabbos, when the Ger came to Hillel, and he told him, teach me the whole Torah on 1 foot. So Hill said, Madasani loch, you shouldn't do lachavrach. Rashi explains that it means what you don't like, that if you ask somebody to do something for you and he doesn't listen, lachavrach, the Hainu Dr. Rashi, the Rabbi Shalom, when he asks you to do something, listen. But often, how Rashi says, the Rabbi Shalom is called chavrach. Right? So with Trua, the Trua enables with Tshuva that we should be raised with the Rabbi Shalom. Why Taka is Rosh Hashanah a Yom Adin? Why Taka? So the emphasis, the Gemara says, we say it in Davening, Zel Yom Tchilas Masecha, Zok the Gemara, Command the Amar B'Tishrei Nivra Olam. I said the Rishonim all ask that we paskin B'Nisa Nivra Olam, but Akapanim it's going B'Tishrei Nivra Olam. Zok the Ran, that the world was created B'Chof Hei Elul. Well, Arichas over there, the Minik, some start Slichas B'Chof Hei Elul. The Chof Hei Be'elul was Nivra Olam. What was Aleph Tishrei? Was Friday, the day that Adam Arisha was born. If you take a look in Tehillim, the Medrash Tehillim Sheichatai, the Medrash breaks down every hour what happened on the 6th day. Dr. Medrash, Ba'asiri, in the 10th hour, Adam Arisha was Chaita. The Yud Aleph, he was in Nidun. The Yud Bais, Yotza B'dimus, Zokte Piskeder of Kahana, because Adam Arishan had a kapora. He was kicked out of Gan Eden, but he had a kapora on the Chet. Zokte the Piskeder of Kahana, the Loshen. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zeh Simon Lebanecha, Kashem, like you are oimed bedin, beyoim zeh beyotza bedimos, kein asiden banecha lios oimdem lefane beyoim zeh, bedin beyoim zeh beyotzim bedimos. So the Eibishter made Rosh Hashanah, the day that Adam Rishon was born, was Chaita, and had a kapara the day of Yom Adin, so Klal Yisrael should have a kapara. In Torah Lashma, the Ben Ish Chai says that's why we say Tashlach Rosh Hashanah at the end of the day, the 12th hour comes out to be the 12th hour because it's Zman Mesugel B'Yosef, because that was Yotze B'Dimus. Just to conclude, we spoke about the Makor for Shofar, the Tama Mitzvah. One tiny nakud about the shofar that we blow now, the whole Elul. So the Torah brings it, it's a Pirkei de Rabbi Lezer for Rosh Chodesh for sure, because Moshe Rabbeinu Allah Rosh Chodesh b'shofar. Then the Torah continues, it's a discussion if it's also from the Pirkei de Rabbi Lezer, but the Torah continues that a person, the shofar, should be ma'orer a person l'tshuva. To say what we blow on Rosh Hashanah, like the Lashon Hashla, and this one I'm going to end, that he says, B'chol chodesh elu be'eis hatkiyos yamoid be'ema v'yira v'reses v'zeya v'yisvada, and to do tshuva v'yisvada v'yoshav al Hashem Elokeinu. You should be zoichetaka to utilize the days of Elul.